I'd like to call to order the September 27th meeting of the Bargersville Town Council. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with a roll call from my right.
Dustin Doyle.
Ruth Ann Moore.
Andrew Greenwood.
Susie Qualls.
James Rommel.
We have a quorum. First on the agenda is council business. We have 3 appointments for the Bargersville Economic Development Commission. They will be Eric Prime, Robin Bowman, and James Pfeiffer. Next up today will be Ordinance 2022-23, fixing the town and utility allocation methodology. Mr. Stone?
Sorry, I looked down for once. So this is cost share methodology, correct? Okay, very good. So we just updated this. I believe they have the updated percentages. No, okay. So the updates at the last meeting we had based on 2021 revenues. After further discussion and consultation with the utilities, we have a proposed amendment to do the splits based 32% as town, 45% for water, 12% for electric, and 11% for wastewater.
For those of you keeping score at home, any additional questions for Mr. Stone? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the fixing the town and utility allocation method with the amendment of putting the town at 32%, water 45%, electric 12%, and wastewater at 11%.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Qualls. Seeing no additional questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Cartwright, Ordinance 2022-24 to abolish the Park Advisory Board.
There's been a lot of discussion about this with the Parks Board and some of the council members, or most of all, I think, have been involved in this conversation, but the decision has been made to abolish the Parks Advisory Board, and David has prepared the ordinance that I'm asking today for acknowledgement of that and execution of that by the council.
Any questions for Mr. Cartwright?
Mr. President, I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-24 to abolish the Parks Advisory Board.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Moore. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Now begin Ordinance 2022-25, amending the Parks District.
This ordinance is a pretty simple ordinance. All it amounts to is the Park District Board members will be paid a per diem for their participation on the board like most other boards. That was never created, so that's what this ordinance is. And I'm requesting approval of this ordinance.
You need to establish an amount, or is that?
It is 40.
It is,
40.
okay.
It's in the pay ordinance, salary ordinance.
I'll make a motion that members of the Parks and Recreation District will receive a $40 per diem amount at each meeting or whatever.
Gotcha. Just want to make sure we're adopting the ordinance. Move to adopt.
Okay.
We have a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
By Mrs. Moore, a second by Mr. Doyle. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Mr. Seco's ordinance 2022-26, amending the official zoning map from agriculture to rural residential.
This is an ordinance to, as you said, amend the zoning map from agricultural to rural residential. It's approximately 6 acres located at 5260 North 625 West for a 3-lot minor subdivision in the future. This was given a favorable recommendation by the Planning Commission last Monday at a public hearing.
Any questions from Mr. Seco's?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, ordinance 2022-26, amending zoning map from ag to rural residential.
I have a motion by Mr. Rommel
I'll second.
and a second by Mrs. Moore. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Stone, ordinance 2022-27, our 2023 town budget. Welcome
Good
back.
afternoon. Today is the first introduction meeting of the proposed town budget for 2023. Appreciate everyone's help and the council's help throughout the process. And I would also like to say a word of gratitude for the new town manager and all the department heads that have been involved in this since May. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of negotiations, and that's we just want to say we appreciate the discussion. And if you're following along, I've got the PowerPoint summary presentation here to guide some of the conversation. The adoption timeline today is first introduction. We'll be able to do a quick overview relative to what's included in the budget, main summaries. Department heads are available if there's any follow-up questions. The public hearing is scheduled and will be noticed tomorrow for October 11th. And our tentative second reading and potential adoption is scheduled for October 25th. As far as some of the major budget highlights, next slide, please. Oh, I got it right here. Sweet. It does, on the revenue side, the budget does include the new additional local income tax that the Johnson County Council passed earlier this summer, and that's approximately a $300,000 estimate. We won't know until we obviously start to receive those revenues next year exactly how they come in, but that's what we're forecasting. Due to the town's growth, which you'll see here in a moment, we are presenting an AV growth appeal for 2%. That revenue is incorporated in the budget. We're assuming $50,000 in additional taxes for that. The budget as presented here has a couple amendments. We've got the 5% pay increase for all full-time, part-time board positions. It provides a new merit program for civilian employees, and then there's a typo here that should be 10% increase for officer pay. It does incorporate a new full-time parks director, a seasonal part-time and related operating expenses, and then it backfills a position within the Clerk Treasurer's office. Within the one-time and capital-related items, there's $1.3 million in total street paving. $1 million of that is estimated to be part of the Community Crossings state grant within $320,000 in local funds. So it's approximately 13% of the total budget going into paving. The Capital Development Fund that the council reestablished at the start of the summer has about $276,000, of which approximately $170,000 of that is in vehicle leases, with an additional $100,000 unitemized for future capital needs. It does budget for the new Kephart Park levy back bonds. It assumes the new 3 replacement police vehicles, lease financed, paid for by the CCD fund, and then a new development vehicle paid for by CCD. It does incorporate a new electric vehicle rapid charging station, as well as establishes a new Parks Department capital budget of approximately $180,000 per year, That's above and beyond the salaries and operating expenses. That's to invest in parks, trails, amenities, those types of things. And then lastly, provides funding for the street sweeper and a new skid steer as well. So as far as the net assessed values, they've continued to grow steadily over the last several years. Into next year, the town's assessed value is certified to grow at 28% versus a state levy growth of approximately 5%. So what the chart on the right is doing is it's showing the assessed value growth versus the levy growth. So in the state of Indiana, regardless of what your community's assessed value growth grows at, the state actually controls the amount of maximum levy to be based on the trailing 6 years non-farm payroll average. So essentially, that math works out to be 5% next year. So most communities, schools, et cetera, are able to grow their budget, property tax budget, by that amount. The challenge is your tax rate for your community, which ultimately goes out and is used to compute the bills, is factored on a tax rate based on the actual assessed value. So in this case, if your assessed value is growing faster than the levy growth, your tax rate falls. Okay, so for a growing community such as Bargersville, it's our recommendation is that you try to at least maintain your tax rate, a tax rate that falls over time. 10, 15 years in the future, it gets really challenging to be able to provide services for that community. So that's exactly what we're projecting. So the certified tax rate's projected to be essentially the same, slightly lower than 2022 into 2023, and it's been steadily decreasing the last handful of years. So the proposed budget by department is, this number has just tweaked just so slightly today, so let me give you the exact current number. So the proposed amount for total townwide is $10,365,424. $10,365,424. The largest departments there, the top three, are streets, police, and municipal operations as far as total percent, with parks being in fourth. One thing I would note for the public, the streets budget includes $1 million in that local community crossing state grant. So when you adjust for that, really the streets and police amount are pretty close. And then, yeah, this has also been updated, so let's go ahead and skip that. The updated fund summary is cumulatively across all funds for the town. There is a $5,477 surplus projected, which is effectively balanced. And then one of the things that we're happy to present is that the total general fund budget, that is the one that it really is used to pay core operating expenses, has a slight surplus projected at $40,258 based on what's proposed. So across all funds, the cumulative fund balance really in every fund is at or above the reserve target and policy that council has set on a projection basis of the end of next year. So we don't see any funds that we would say that we think are in a distressed situation or anything like that. And we project at the end of next year, general fund would have a 78% reserve. Last thing I have before I open it up for questions is, again, just for the public, at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, October 11th night meeting, it will be the public hearing. That'll be when we start introducing the tax rate ordinance, and then the final meeting will be the last council meeting of the month. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Stone? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're still still up there though, on resolution 2022-10, petition for appeal of relief from property
Yeah.
tax levy limitation.
Yep, so as we just discussed, it's all based on that AV growth. There's a couple different ways communities in Indiana can appeal their levy. Annexations, financial emergency, AV growth. The AV growth is based on 3-year average, okay? And it's not even capturing A23. That's actually the thing that I would say is probably the most surprising. So you have to exceed the 3-year average state levy growth by over 1.02, factor of 102, to be able to qualify. You qualified without the 28%, okay? So there's very good likelihood that next summer, when you can count that, you'll be able to look at that again. The benchmark that the state publishes for the average between 2020, 21, and 22, the number you have to beat by 102% is 4.47% average, okay? Your amount was approximately 12.87. So you more than 3x effectively that growth. So you more than qualify. So this has nothing to do with the financial condition. This has purely everything to do with your growing community. There's a packet where the calculated appeal. So you're able to grow your levy by 5% without the appeal. The appeal allows you to add an additional 2%, so 7% in total. Okay. Even with the appeal and CC and the new Kept Park bonds, we are projecting, as you just saw, tax rates actually stay flat to slightly decrease. And the total appeal amount that we're calculating is $67,125. That's before any kind of circuit breaker or anything like that. So take any questions. This has to be signed and certified to the DLGF by October 19th, which is a week prior than our budget adoption, which is why you have it on your agenda today.
It's under a first reading, but we can adopt.
We can adopt today.
Adopt it.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move we adopt resolution 2022-10 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Qualls. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Under the clerk, everyone have a chance to look at the credit card statements and approvals. Good to do that by consensus. Everyone good? Okay, by consensus.
Already did B.
And then we already did B. So then, did everyone have a chance to review the town council meeting minutes from September 13th? Any changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve September 13th town council meeting minutes as
Second.
presented.
Motion by Mrs. Qualls, a second by Mrs. Moore. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Mr. Cartwright, the police department change order.
The police department is completed. There was a contingency amount in the contract, in the construction contract, and this change order represents the overreach to the contingency amount that was in the contract. So what I'm asking for is authorization to have this change order executed.
In the amount of $6,508, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we accept police department change order number 3 in the amount of $6,508.
Motion by Mr. Doyle,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Moore. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Seekos. right-of-way performance bond.
It's simply acceptance of a performance bond for right-of-way permit 3212-2022 for QC. It's simply acceptance of a performance bond for right-of-way permit 3212-2022 for QC Communications, the amount of $1,100.
Mr. President, move we accept performance bond row 003212-2022 in the amount of $1,100.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Moore. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Is it 1100 or 1170?
Was it 11? It may have been 1170. I didn't.
I'd like to amend my motion to the amount of $1,170, not to
Thank you.
exceed.
I'm sorry.
No,
That's my mistake.
You want to vote again?
It says
No, it's
11.
fine as long as you made that amendment.
I need to take advantage
catch.
of our fine vision insurance.
Yes.
I think the 1170.
For
All right,
indulging our good benefits,
1170.
Joe. Appreciate that.
Duly noted. Chief, do you have anything tonight or
Not
today?
to exceed 1170, so we're good.
Mr. Killinger,
Doesn't take long,
he needs dirt.
I got a shovel.
Nah, not that.
Not that kind of dirt.
Not. You can't move it with just a shovel.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Our park is short on dirt again, and we're here to ask for approval to haul in up to 2,000 cubic yards, or around 200 loads, I believe. We have a cost of $24,000, and then maybe a not to exceed dollar amount, so we don't have to come back. We hope this is the last time that we're going through this. Trent is here to maybe answer any questions on how we've gotten to this point, or if there's anything that you might want to ask. So,
What kind of dirt is it? No, Mr. President, I have a motion to approve additional dirt amount not to exceed 24,000 at our park.
He's asked for a not to exceed 30,000.
Oh, not to exceed 30,000. Okay,
Correct.
My mistake.
I have a motion by Mr. Rommel,
Second.
second by Mr. Doyle. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
you.
Get a bill.
Krista, come on up.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So I'm asking the council to move forward with the limited spousal coverage policy for health insurance as written and amended.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the limited spousal coverage for insurance as presented.
I'll second it. Or go ahead.
I have a motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mrs. Moore. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone have any announcements or updates they'd like to make? Other than Mr. Killinger?
Second. That's a sign.
We need some more dirt for Kephart Park. No, just kidding. I do have one item that's in relation. I sent an email about 30 minutes ago on 15-year law agreement, and that dollar amount is tied to today's date for the calculation of the interest. So I wasn't sure if you had time to open up your email to maybe give a not to exceed amount for us to proceed, or we can recalculate and come back at the next meeting.
What is, I'm sorry.
It's the,
Did you get that?
the 15-year law. I didn't get the email.
I didn't.
I didn't get it.
I do not
So
have
you
it.
can bring it back.
Nervous on who I sent it to then.
What's the price on it?
Let's see, it is $17,816.04.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the payment for the 15-year law as presented by Mr. Killinger in the amount of not to exceed $17,816.04.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Qualls. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'll make sure I resend that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know.
All right, we'll try this again. Does anyone have any additional comments or updates?
Good.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second.